Greetings, QCS build fans. Well, today we're going to do something a little different than what we've been doing. We're going to actually build what's in the very small little box here. So this is a AsRock Industrial 4x4 Barebone. This particular unit is the AMD Ryzen 1505V embedded unit. So similar to a Athlon 3000 desktop chip with Vega 3 graphics, same dual core, quad thread count chip, about the same performance, just it's almost like a laptop variant. I believe this one runs at 15 watts. So yeah, so pretty cool. So we're going to take it out of the box. We're going to be putting 8 gigs of RAM in it. This actually runs on laptop memory. So 8 gigs of DDR4, 2133. We're going to do a 240 gig SSD. And it'll run Windows 10 Pro. This one is for a client that actually we already did 4 of these for them. This will be their 5th unit. And they've actually worked really, really well. They're actually just ideal for a client machine if you want to take up near zero space as far as footprint. These are literally about a 4x4 square. So we've got 3 USB ports on the front, 2 USB 2 with a USB 3.0, a headphone jack, and then on the back you can see we have our exhaust port for our fan, power, 2 display ports, 1 HDMI port, dual 1 gigabit Ethernet on this, and 2 USB 3 ports. They make a larger version of this, which is let's see, I believe it's 4 cores. Is it 4 cores? Yeah. So it's 4 cores. It's 4 cores, 4 threads, I believe. And then they make a newer version of this, which is a high-end, which is based on the Ryzen 4000 APUs, which is an 8-core, 16-thread with Vega 8. Yeah, with the new revised Vega 8 graphics on it, which is basically like a mini workstation. So yeah, that thing would be cool, but they're also very expensive. So I don't foresee doing one of those anytime soon, but we'll find out. So yeah, so this thing is super tiny. It's literally about the same size as our SSD, and when we get into it, we'll see that there is not a lot of room to work inside of this thing. However, we've got 4 of these out in deployment, and they've been rock solid. We haven't had any issues with them, so they've been totally great. And then you'll see we'll get the standoffs put in on here, because also in the box we have one, our power brick. This has an M.2 slot on it, to where and this is the heatsink for the M.2. However, this does not take a standard 2280 size M.2. It's actually a 2260. And they're a little harder to come by, and they're not as universal, basically, as far as capacity. And so, yeah, I would, for most of these, unless you need real high capacity, I would just do a standard 2.5-inch SSD. That's SATA. So. But also in here we have our mounting plate. So this is a Versa mounting plate. So there's 3 ways you can use this thing. So either A, you can use it as a desktop replacement unit, and I'll literally adjust it like that. Or this is a Versa plate, and so this it'll actually mount to it like so, and then this plate would either mount to the Versa mount on the back of your monitor. So this would just sit on the back of your monitor like so, or it's wall mountable. So we can actually take, and we actually just take this plate, take 4 screws, mount it directly to the wall, and then just take this guy like this, and goes in, slides down, locks, and that's it. And it's totally wall mounted. This one isn't super thick, so this one is actually going to go behind a 50-inch TV in a conference room to be able to use it for or remote workstation for conference room meetings. So that way they can pull up records and different PowerPoints and stuff like that. So we'll have to take a laptop in there and hook it up and everything else. And then we'll hook it up with a wireless keyboard and mouse, and it'll be perfect. Up, out of the way, high and tight. The only thing you'll see is a giant monitor and a keyboard and a mouse. The other thing with this is also has integrated dual band wireless on it as well. So very slick, very tidy little unit if footprint is an issue with you, or if you just want to use it for like a kiosk PC or a display PC or anything like that, it's ideal. These run about, the Barebone unit itself runs about $300 depending on where you buy it. And then all you have to do is add the memory, which I believe this one does support up to 32 gigs of RAM, and it'll take either the M.2 or a SATA SSD, so in whatever size you want to put on it. So SATA, you can run anything from 60 gigs all the way up to 4 terabytes if you really wanted to. So, but yeah, pretty slick little unit. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so you can see we got back on our GAMERSNEXUS MODMAT here again. So we're going to take this little thing open. So to do so, there's 4 screws on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we need a good fitting P2 Phillips number 2 screwdriver to take these out. And they're fairly long screws, so you can see that these really go down quite a ways down to the side of the unit where they lock in. So there's one. Also from here you can see our Versa mount attachment screws. We put the standoff screws in here, and then that'll lock it into the Versa mount. We won't do that until we actually install it. Which the plan to install it's actually going to be tomorrow, so. And then this video will go up probably about a week after. Okay, so then we can just slide the bottom off. Here we go. So right here you can go ahead and you can see that is our SSD mount. And then here you can actually see the inside of it. So here is our SATA power cable, our 2 DIMM slots. Our wireless card is right here, and that is our M.2 slot, which actually the screw standoff for it is right here. So if it was a standard 2280 SSD, it would actually be about the full length of this unit. So because the GBIC NIC, the 1 gigabit NICs are in the way. They don't have enough room to be able to scrunch it all in there. So, and then the processor actually sits, this is actually the motherboard, and the processor sits on the bottom side of the board. So one other cool little feature with this particular unit is right here, you can see this little white brick right there. That's actually a fuse. For whatever reason, if you get a power surge or something, that fuse will actually blow, and it's replaceable in this unit, so which is kind of handy. So, but yeah, so pretty simple PC solution. Now I do believe this also has support for Linux. If you want to run Ubuntu or Red Hat or SUSE, I believe they're all supported on this on their website. So you just have to go to AsRock's, go to AsRock and then click the industrial PC side, and then you can search for it in there. So, all right. Now I get this in here. It does have to kind of go under this I/O slot right here. So this is gonna kind of have to wiggle it in here, sorta. There it goes. Make sure you're all the way in. Push it down. Clicks and locks. Done. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and set this off to the side for a moment, and we're gonna get our. Actually, I don't even have to take that off. I have. Nope, not quite. I don't quite have enough clearance. Now, in the manual for this unit, it will tell you that if you use a 2.5-inch drive, specifically if you use a 2.5-inch hard drive, with a SSD, it's going to depend on the SSD how much heat it produces. But it, as you can tell, this is perforated. It is vented. And this is the bottom of the unit. So if you use the 2.5-inch, they recommend it be wall mounted, or versa mounted, with the fan facing up for ventilation. If it's going to be just sitting on the desk, they'd actually recommend you use the 2260 SATA drive. Or not SATA drive, the M.2 drive, because it doesn't block as much airflow. Because you'll notice when we get this in here, this drive's basically going to sit right there, and it's going to block that entire lower vent. So that is why they recommend that. So just for so it can breathe better. So, all right. Okay, so one thing we do have to do with this particular unit is we do have to make sure okay, so that goes like that. So that goes like that. We do have to make sure that the SSD ports are on the correct side. So when we put this in, otherwise what will happen is we will go to hook this up, and if this slot, the connections are on this side, this cable will not reach, and this cable cannot be relocated in any way. So so this is go like this. All right, so it's got to go upside down like that. So that way when we flip it over, it matches up. So, okay. that is about the only real tricky thing about this particular unit. All right, grab some screws. Now in the box, you do get all the screws that you need. So you do get M.2 mounts, you get standoff screws, you get SSD screws, and the whole 9 yards. So it's a pretty good setup, really. Okay, that's one. We'll go ahead and separate our screws here real quick. You can see I'm using my GAMERSNEXUS P1 out of our GAMERSNEXUS toolkit. I do need to get on their store and I need to order a bigger, the full-size MODMAT. I believe the possibility they're probably on back order. They have a very hard time of getting keeping those in stock all the time. So I need to get one ordered. So that way I've got a MODMAT that actually fills this entire area. You can't notice it right now because I have the camera zoomed in, but so you can see inside here a little easier. But this is the smaller MODMAT, and it does not cover my entire work area. So, all right, so there's that. This goes back in here. One cool thing about this is if you were running a 2.5-inch hard drive, it does have the rubber dampeners that isolate the vibration for a mechanical drive, which is kind of cool. So, okay. We'll go ahead and screw this back together here. And if you notice, out of habit, I put everything in a Z pattern usually. Just crazy weird habit from putting heat sinks on processors all the time. And so it's just it's not a bad habit, it's just a habit. Okay, take all our other screws and stick them back in here so we don't lose them. We'll put it back in the box. Okay, so then we'll just take this, flip it over, and we plug our SATA connector into our drive first. And you kind of have to roll it and slide it in there. And you can see it is fully seated. And then make sure that seats in there all the way, and we're good. And we can just go ahead and put our screws back in. Very, very slick unit. I really like these. I would probably recommend buying these than standard desktops all the time if these didn't come with the premium. So these normally will run with say Windows 10, with the Windows 10 Pro, 240 gig drive and everything. These will run about $100 more than the standard desktop. So, you know, when you're deploying an office and you're doing, you know, 5 or 6 of these at a time, $600 makes a difference. It's something you'd either, can spend it somewhere else, or, you know, save it for later. So hence we still sell a lot of standard desktops. And we'll have one of those videos up here probably fairly soon. I know I've got a office deployment coming up here fairly soon, and they're going to use standard desktops for budgetary reasons. So I think we're going to use one of these, or two. I think we're going to use 2 of these in that deployment, just for space reasons. But otherwise, yeah, we're just going to do standard desktops. So that's it. RAM, SSD, storage device, and now we just got to load Windows on it. So we'll get set up and we'll see you here in just a second. Okay, so we're all set up here. You're looking at my bench monitor right now. Unfortunately, I have not had a chance to research any video output devices for recording just yet. So when I do that, this will look a little bit better. But for now, we're just gonna go ahead and turn the box on here. And hey, Smarty Pants, helps if you plug in the video. Let's see, where is that adapter? Oh no, blue screen of death. Oh wait, no. It's just trying to boot without anything being there. That's okay. Let's see. So we'll get into our BIOS here real quick. And voila. So we have a 4x4 R1000V with a BIOS version of 1.3, which is the embedded R1505G with Radeon Vega. And we have 8 gigs of 2400 DDR4. So, yeah, looks pretty good. Alright, so that's all good there. Even got the right date and everything. Time's close enough. We can go ahead and change it. 12. Oops. Use the right buttons there, Sparky. 12. 24. That's close enough. Okay. And we can see our CPU's running at 50 degrees centigrade, and our motherboard's holding at a good 34, so, and it's just idle right now. So it's running good. Don't have to worry about that. Fan is set to automatic. We got full on automatic or manual. Automatic on it, honestly, is perfectly fine for these. You don't really, they don't run super hot. And like I said, it's only like a 15-watt chip on this, so it's not going to run crazy hot. So, alright, so go ahead and save that. And let's get a blue screen one more time on us. While I get our Windows drive plugged in here. Okay. Oops. Control Delete there. And then oh, you have 11 here. There it goes. Alright, UEFI. Yes, I'm using a flash drive I bought at Walgreens. But hey, it works. So you can notice this actually doesn't take very long for it to go through and do anything on this. It actually is fairly quick. And we're just going to do a no product key installation here, but we're going to preload it with Pro, because this will be eventually attached to a domain. So do that. Oh, that's right. I used this drive for something else before, so go ahead and wipe all the partitions off so we can do a totally clean install. This is actually the long part of this, is actually the installing of Windows or copying the files. Once it does that, it's pretty much loaded everything over to the SSD at this point, and it doesn't take that long. I remember the first time I did these on the initial deployment, I was very impressed with how fast these actually ran. It was pretty impressive. I didn't think we were going to get as good a throughput on it as we did, but we really do. It really runs right along, and they're, like I said, very solid box. Don't have any issues with them at all. So the chip on this, I would say it's kind of somewhere in between a 3200U Ryzen laptop chip and a Athlon 3000 desktop chip. Same graphics on both. Core structure is similar between the two. Power, the wattage is more consistent with the 3200U. And 3200U is actually a really good chip. My youngest has a laptop. Actually, both my kids have laptops, but with 3200Us in them, and that chip is more than capable of playing Fortnite all day long on it if you really want it to. So, fairly impressive little chip. About ready to kick the installation. And oh, it installed features instantaneously. Oh, imagine that. The power of solid state. And it actually isn't going to do anything with updates because we don't have it plugged into the internet at the moment. And it's going to go and finish up. And it's going to restart. So we're going to kick it. Now, in case anyone's wondering, this is Windows 10 build 1909 that's on this flash drive. So we'll have a few updates we'll have to run once we get this totally up and loaded, but otherwise we won't have to worry about too much. So I go ahead and preload all the updates here at the office. That way I'm not sitting on site waiting for updates to load and everything else. So yeah, it usually tends to work a little better that way. So you gotta love Microsoft here. Getting ready. And getting ready, does that mean get on your marks, get set, go? Okay. It must be ready. Just a moment. Well, of course, a moment in Microsoft time can be anywhere from 30 seconds to 30 minutes, so I can promise it won't be 30 minutes. All right. And we're going to go ahead and get through the initial stuff for Windows, and I'm not going to hook it up on the wireless just yet. The main reason for doing that is it won't make me have to set a username and password. So with a Microsoft account. So otherwise, Microsoft's trying to force everyone to have a Microsoft account, which you do have to have it for certain things, but I don't like to use it for my Windows login. Too many times we've had clients get themselves locked out of their computers because their system has been, they've reset their password somewhere and then it hasn't synced up on their computer, and so then they can't get into their computer because they've locked themselves out. So, and of course the whole this might take several minutes. Well, of course that's several in Microsoft terminology. There. And ta-da! That's it! Loaded Windows in roughly less than 5 minutes. So that's pretty good for just a little dual-core 4-thread box. So, well, that's it for this video. Well, so far. We'll go ahead and we'll show the finished installed project when we get it all mounted up and everything. So, till the next part, bye for now.